Hello, welcome to the show brought to you by the YAFC. And it is February, which means it is Valentine's Day month or the month of that's actually a bunch of different months, isn't it? Now that I think about this, but it is a month of love. And today with me, we're gonna talk to some YAFC members who want to talk about dating and relationships and their experience or lack of experience with dating and relationships. And I know that for young people with disabilities, dating and relationships is a huge topic that rarely gets discussed in a real way. So we're trying to bring that conversation to you today. But for those of you that are new to the show, this is episode 11 of the show. And the YFC is a group of young adults from across the United States who work with the Raise Center, which is a technical assistance center that supports parent centers in supporting young adults with the transition from high school to adult life. And so I feel like the people here tonight are uniquely suited to have this conversation and give their perspective. So I'm going to have my three guests introduce themselves. And first, we'll go to Carly. Just say where you're from and do you love or hate Valentine's Day? We'll go with that, Carly.
Hi, my name is Carly, and I'm from Powhatan, Virginia, and I love Valentine's Day. I think it's a cool holiday.
Why do you love Valentine's Day?
I don't know. It's just cheery.
Oh, it's the candy. Is that what it is? It's the
Oh
candy.
yeah. I love the chocolate. The chocolate. Mm-hmm.
And Atif, welcome back to the show with Carly too.
Hi, my name is Adib and I'm from New York.
Do you love Valentine's Day, Atif? I feel like it's a no.
No, because I got my heart broken writing down.
Oh, I hear you, man. I hear you. I hear you. Aaron, want to introduce yourself? I feel like you're
Yeah,
almost every episode of this, so like people should like know your voice and
yeah,
your face at this
probably.
way. Go ahead.
Yeah. But as a reminder, I'm Erin. I'm from Minnesota. As far as Valentine's Day goes, I like it purely because I've gotten into this habit of buying myself really good chocolate. So instead of it being like about
Uh,
relationships, it's about self-love through chocolate. So, yeah.
yeah, I have found that Valentine's Day is way better. Um, now that I have a little girl at home because I can just buy her stuff and she
Mhm.
likes it and she likes candy. My wife does too, but
What,
we
what
kind of think
about
it.
your wife? I was just about to say, I mean, what about your your
Well, you know what,
love?
Atif, I am blessed. Did I buy my wife something? Yes, but it's not really something that we focus on a lot, which is for me awesome. But I know my little girl loves it. So my first question would be, when you all are interacting with someone that you might be looking to date or to connect with, how do you go about talking about your disability? And Aaron, I'll have you go first.
Yeah, I think
As a wheelchair user like a Teef
yeah.
and
Yeah,
myself.
I think it kind of depends. I think in this day and age, there's this, virtual versus in-person situation where you can like in the virtual world hide certain things about yourself until you're ready. In real world, everything is just out there, especially as a wheelchair user. It's like bam in your face, like here I am. But I think like the best thing to do is, you know, or what I've learned is the best thing to do for myself is more so just this like I'm not so different from you and let's talk about it in an easy like way that you can also recognize it. So for like example, there was one time I went to get coffee with someone, right? And so I have limited hand mobility. So grabbing the cup, I use two hands, either side of the cup. And they just ask, like, oh, like, do you need help with the cup? Or like, are you good? And I said, yeah, I'm totally good. Like, I just use both hands. And then, like, because of the strength of my wrist, it helps me grab it. And I, told them about like this tenodesis grip as like a little education moment, and they thought it was really cool. And then they just understood that like I can still use my hands and do a lot of things, but like it's just not the same as they're used to. So I think there's like opportunities to have like simple education, but I think like laying it all out can be really intimidating for people. So just like little tidbits and kind of explaining it that way, I think could be a gentle way to do it.
Yeah, Atif, what about you when you approach someone that you might be interested in? Like, how do you talk about the fact that you use a
Um,
chair? I know you're kind of unapologetic as it
well,
is, but
it's no, it's very visible. So but the thing that upsets me is that they assume what kind of disability you have, and they like make assumptions like, oh, is like if somebody's with me, like my aide or somebody, they'd be like, oh, does his brain work? Does
right,
like
yeah. So people make
me
assumptions of
does
your capabilities.
yeah, and like or misdiagnose me to the wrong disability.
Sure,
If you know what
sure.
I'm trying to say.
No, yeah, I hear that, and so like it can be hard sometimes when you're already behind the eight ball, when somebody is making assumptions, you don't even get the chance to even start a conversation. What about you, Carly? I know that you're the only one on here that has like a disability that's not easily seen, and I
Mhm.
know that you also said too before we started that like you really haven't dated, and just because you didn't really have the opportunity to doesn't mean that you're not down with it or whatever. You just haven't
Mhm.
yet. So like, what do you do though when you're talking to somebody that you might want to be even be friends or have a relationship with? Do you share things right away? Like, how does that happen for you?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, I don't, um, it depends, I guess, the situation, but like, I guess sometimes I share my disability right away if I meet them, but other times I might not right away because it depends on like how comfortable I'm with them and how I kind of get a vibe right away.
Yeah, I
Uh,
was gonna say what makes. Sorry to cut you off, but what you said is
mhm.
really interesting in the sense of like you determine when you're most comfortable. What makes you the most comfortable to be like
I guess
I
just
have the
like
right
how they
vibe with this
perceive
person.
themselves and how they come across to me, because it also depends on like, because sometimes I have trouble reading people too. So it can kind of sometimes come across as me like, oh, they might like me, but they might just like me as a friend or something. And I'm like,
Ah,
I got to rethink this.
yeah. So like that's a big thing too, right? Like somebody wants to be friends and you think they might like you, and then there's like
Yeah.
this thing about like, oh, I just crossed the boundary. I didn't know that I was going to,
Yeah,
and you didn't
exactly.
want to. Um, Aaron and Atif, though, I mean that's a good point that Carly brings up in terms of like when you feel most comfortable. Do you have an idea? Like Atif, you talked about when you get really frustrated, but what does the person do that makes you feel most comfortable to be yourself and to share information about yourself?
Uh, well, when they start talking to you like normally, like as they would to an able-bodied person, then you start realizing, oh, this person is not really, humiliating you or disrespecting you, and then they start talking to you, and then we did have a conversation, then it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I said, like it really depends on the person mindset and mentality and the amount of education they have
Mm-hmm.
around people with disabilities. Like, if you know what I mean, Aaron, since you work in a company with communication. Um,
Yeah.
so it's really about the education and the lack of not not the lack, but the wealth of knowledge that they have.
Yeah. So you gravitate to people that you feel like understand what your situation is, and
Yeah.
and the and the 50-cent word for what you're describing, Atif, is called presuming competence. Right? Somebody is coming to you assuming that you're able to do the things they're asking you to do or to have the conversation they're trying to have. So all of you brought up these really cool like themes that I think resonate with young people. But if you're a parent listening to this, what you hear is like you want to be in a situation or in a space that you feel most comfortable and the vibe is good, right? With the people they're around, and you want to make sure that people can. But Erin talked about taking time to educate other people about her situation, right? And
Yeah,
some
yeah, that's
people
where I
love to
got
do that.
that.
But Atif, I get the vibe that you don't like to have to do that sometimes. Like you don't want to have to
No,
all the time.
no, no, no. It's not that I
Oh, was
don't
I
like
wrong?
it.
Okay,
It's
go
just
ahead.
no. It's not that I don't like it, but you can just tell by the person if they want to learn or they being ignorant for on purpose. If you know what I mean. You
Well,
could
and
you
that's
could tell. You could
yeah,
tell. You could like if you know what I mean. You could tell like if they're being insensitive or if they really don't know. You could tell
yeah. I
the
mean,
difference.
and that's kind of what Carly said too. Like you just get when you have like this spidey sense that's like this person
Yeah.
doesn't get it, so it almost like
Yeah.
shuts it
Like
down right
so.
away, right?
And some people they want to learn, but they just don't have the outlet or the resource. So that's different. But if you're just gonna be ignorant and make comments because you want to hear yourself talk, that's
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Aaron, I guess I'll ask this. Like, so in your experience, have you had days that were shut down right away, basically because of what Atif just described, and kind of like what has that been like for you?
Yeah, I would say like, like we've all mentioned, I think the vibe you get a lot of times when you feel like you can pursue like a relationship further is like the open-mindedness, willing to learn aspect, and
yeah,
you can
yeah,
kind of get that
exactly.
vibe early. Um,
Yeah.
and so I think like for me, one of the things that I've noticed too, like when you're kind of in that like dating world, is like for me, I often get this thing of like you can start to catch a different vibe where it's like people are fishing for information and they're not
Yes.
interested.
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah,
being
they
nosy,
they
curious,
just wanna
and
they're ignorant. They're ignorant
yeah.
people.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
not like, I wasn't put on this earth just to educate you or like fulfill your curiosity. Like there's Google, there's other things
Right.
in the world. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like whenever
You're
that type of
the
situation happens, it's just kind of immediately cut off. Like, like sometimes, like, don't get me wrong, like, I'll just say it up front, like, hey, like, let's not go there at the moment. And sometimes, like on an app, they'll just delete you. And it's like, fine, one less person that is ignorant that I have to deal with. Right.
Right.
So I think it's like kind of getting a feel, I think, is the general vibe that we kind of all talk about.
Yeah, and Carter, let me ask you this though. So you guys talked about apps, and we'll get back to that because I think that's a whole experience that people. I mean, that's how people date now. I mean, literally everybody, like everybody dates that way on apps. But Carter, let me ask you this. I know you said that like uh dating really hasn't been something that you focused on a lot, but uh how has your parents like supported your ability to date? Are they like pushing you to do it? Do they encourage you to do it and you just make choices? Or is it like, please don't date? Like, I don't like, what is that
They're
like for? And
definitely,
then we'll get to all of you on that one too. Like, are your families
mhm,
like, please go out and have a good time? You know what I mean? And try to figure this out? Or are they like,
yeah, they're definitely very encouraging and like, but they don't like they push it, but more of like an encouraging way to like help me more than force me
yeah? Because
to
I
to
remember
date
for
and like
me,
try new experiences and meet new people. So
sure. Yeah, because my
yeah.
because my mom would literally like make me go to parties. Like I'd get invited and be like, I don't want to go. And my mom would be like, go to a party, go to one.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then like and she'd be like, if stuff hits the fan, you just like you can call me. And that was like one of the
Yeah.
biggest freeing things that I had was that she would tell me to go and then tell me like if I didn't feel comfortable, like I should call and she
Hmm.
would be right there. And so what about you, Aaron? Were you or your I mean, Carly just said like your parents are they encourage it, but they don't like make you go, but they don't do it in a way that's like stay out there forever. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things with this. Like, naturally, I'm like a really shy person until I get to know
Same.
people. And so like I think there's always been this push for anyone surrounding me to be like, Aaron, like go do things, go outside of your normal circle and stuff. And so I think that's part of it. So like of course they're supportive, but I think the interesting thing that I've noticed, like I have a sister who is not disabled. And so I think it's interesting seeing this dynamic within like my family and even just like our family friends of like people will ask her, oh, like who are you going out with? When are you getting married? When are you having kids? And those questions are never asked to me. So it's like this like
Yes.
weird comparison thing that it's like I'm almost like incapable, but everyone around me is still supportive. They just are like, I don't think that's gonna
Yeah.
happen. So there's like
Yeah,
presumptuous
I
added.
love that. That the same thing happened to me because my all my siblings besides me and my brother, besides me and my brother, and they ask the same questions to them, and they don't ask my me or my brother that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Well,
Mhm.
and I get, and I know, Atif, you were busting my chops about my wife. I cannot tell you the number of people that are like surprised, and it gets to be really annoying. And then you tell them
Give me 1 minute.
I had a child, or I have a kid. I'm
Oh
a
yeah, they're
dad.
like, they're like, what? Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yes, yeah, and it gets to be like, like,
Yeah,
and I'm like,
what am I? Am I different than you just because I'm in a wheelchair?
right, yeah. I mean, it's 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 a really sad thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the other question I wanted to ask is like about apps, and I know that Atif and Aaron, I know y'all are on dating apps. Do you have any advice for people that are using them, that people that are had disabilities? Like, how do you approach using apps and like the virtual world of dating?
Yeah, I
And
mean, I can kind of start with this one. I think like I've done plenty of experimenting of like whether or not to show like the wheelchair or, whatever is part of like the pictures of, who I am. And in my experience, I think like showing your disability, if you do have a visible disability, is a good thing because I almost feel like it weeds out the people that may be more of like a person you have to explain it to, and then it just is like a waste of time. But then, of
Mhm.
course, you have the people who are there only to talk about your disability. So there's like a drawback to that. But I think that's one
Yeah,
piece of advice is like just be yourself. I think goes a long way.
yeah.
And just being like authentic, because I think that's when you truly find people and you're not trying to like shape this like
Sugar
virtual
goat.
reality of yourself.
Yep. Hmm.
So I think being authentic is a big part of it. And also just remembering that like you don't have to give people information that they're asking, that like you have to be comfortable too. And like you have to be safe as well,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
like you don't know the people at the end of the day. And so like if you have to take like a little bit to talk to them through the app, or even just have a phone call, or like before I have actually gamed with people on Xbox, just to get a feel. And if they suck, then
Right.
don't talk to them, but then at least you
Right.
didn't,
That's smart.
so
and
like
and you
there's
don't and you
steps you
don't and
can
you don't
take.
mean like bad at video games. You mean like if their
Well, some
vibe
of them have
online is
sucked,
not
yeah.
right. It's like, okay, like this is not gonna
Yeah,
like you're bad at you're bad at Call of Duty. I'm sorry, get out. I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't hang with you.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it,
No.
it kind of goes back to the whole like you get a much better feel of the person's personality, how they'll kind of like meld with you as a person, and so it's like it's just different taking it, off of virtual texting to just talking. And I think
Right.
that that can be super helpful and safer. So,
Yes. Safety's a big one. I mean, I think that we want to
My
honor
only
that part
advice,
because it's
my only advice would be yourself and screw everybody else if they don't wanna like, are interested in you.
right if they don't
They
want to get
can't.
to and be around who you are. Um, would you give and this sounds like that was really great advice for young people that are here. Like, just be yourself, take some steps to be safe. Um, I heard Aaron say like escalate the conversation from like you're on the app messaging, and then if like let's have a phone conversation. Let's play some Xbox, and then Carly can go down the road like I'm just gonna ask you, is this do you like me or not? You can tell me yes or no, and I think that takes guts. And then if you, I guess the thing that I would say is that rejection is hard, but I've always been the way that's like I'm gonna ask you so that I know what to do now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of
That's
been my
awesome.
move is like
Yeah.
if I like you, I'm not, and maybe this is weird, but when I first met my wife, I basically told her like I am interested in you. Like I'm just telling you right now. So
Mm.
like if you don't want to keep talking, that's fine, but just tell me now because like
Mm.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Like I'm in it to win it right now. So like if you don't want to do that, if you're not here for that,
Hmm.
and she was like, "Oh,
Ever,
that
if
was
you don't
gutsy." I'm
mind,
like, "But I would rather do that at a certain point
ever,
than wait to be
Yeah.
told this isn't right." Because I've had my heart broken where I've been left places because I didn't ask and I made assumptions. Like Carly was saying, like you think you like someone or they like
uh-huh,
you, and then they don't,
ever,
and you put all this time in. Go ahead, Atif.
ever, I wanted to ask you, is your wife, does she have a disability or no?
She does not actually. She is a person without a disability.
Oh,
But
that's interesting.
but
I'm like,
it's
really?
but it's but it's so funny because all of you talked about like when you meet someone how they have to have the right vibe, and you can just kind of
Mm.
feel that. And I can tell you to this day, my wife is the person that I've met that has the best vibe when it comes to like my disability and like who I am as a person. And it was like I instantly knew like this person is
Mm.
different than everybody else. So my last question would be, some of you talked about how well your parents do with supporting dating or not or whatever. What advice would you have for parents who um might really be apprehensive about this whole dating experience? So
Tria,
this is for
Tria.
not for youth, but for the parents that are maybe apprehensive about allowing
Yeah, I
their child.
know. Yeah,
Go
I
ahead, Latif.
know.
Yeah, go ahead. Go
Tria,
ahead.
treat your child as normal, like you would to an able-bodied person. That's the only advice that I would have.
Yeah, so don't put any limits. Carly and
Yeah.
Aaron,
Um, I
other
would say
moms and dads,
just
what would you tell
yeah.
them?
Um, I would say just to like not force it because you can't really force somebody to like someone else, but I would say encourage them, more of like encouragement instead of like forcing them to do something, and just encourage them to make new friends and get out there and meet new people.
Yeah, because the only way you're gonna do it is by experiences, right? And that's the hard
Hmm.
part. But you gotta encourage people to get out.
Exactly.
Aaron, what would you say? So get out there and do stuff, and
Yeah,
don't
I
just
mean,
stay with your.
I would kind of build off of what Carly says. And I think, like, we talk about being encouraging to youth a lot. And I think a big part when you do have a disability is breaking down barriers in this environment. And so part of that is offering access. And so it could be something like, hey, like if you want to go hang out with these people, like I can give you a ride. I can make it easy. Like, like
Yeah.
I want you to feel like you can do this. And I think that
Yes.
that's a huge piece is that I know like I didn't start any of this until I was in college. And it was purely because I was on a super accessible campus. There's people everywhere who are the same age. But like before then, I never thought it would be something I could do because I couldn't drive, and like Minnesota
Right.
weather is terrible to try to do anything, So like
Yeah.
that's the thing is just like offering access as a parent, and having those conversations and being like open with your child is a really big thing.
Well, and it's interesting to hear all of you talk. I mean, Charlie, when you said be encouraging, I cannot tell you in my professional life working with families how many people have been so afraid of that conversation that I feel like your generation is a little bit different now, right? Like
Yeah.
my mom allowing me to go to the movies. I mean, Aaron, my mom literally did that. She was like, she would drive me and my friends to meet girls at the movies. Like
Nice.
she would be like, "We're gonna do that." And my mom was the facilitator. Like, y'all want to go to the mall? Okay. But there were rules. Well, there were rules. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, you are there for 90 minutes, and then I'm coming to get you, right? Like,
Mm.
or I'm gonna go to another movie while y'all go over here, right? Like, and you better meet me outside. That kind of, you know what I mean? Like, there. And then if
Yeah.
you betrayed that trust, that's one thing, right? But that's what typical kids do sometimes
Mhm.
too, right? So I
Mhm.
feel like you're right. And even if you don't, if you choose not to date, right? If you choose not to, but at least giving you experiences is like a big deal, right? And getting to meet people. But the other part that you mentioned, Aaron, and this will be the last question that I'll ask, and we'll try to wrap this up because I know we're talking a lot here. But Aaron, you talked about freedom of like being in college and having that space. Was that like, I'm trying to think of, I'm not a host, right? I guess I've been a host for this, but like I'm not a, skilled radio guy. So I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this question. Like being on a college campus and having that freedom, was that like hard to adjust to in terms of dating and like realizing that you could? And did you find yourself being in just different situations that you ever thought you'd be because you're on a place that works and
Yeah,
you
I
can,
think that's an interesting question because I think it's like good and bad. And I think that's kind of like what we talk about as far as like encouraging your kids and providing access is almost like this idea that if you haven't had it in a more like sheltered environment, like once you have like sudden freedom, it's like, uh-oh, where
you
do I
got to my question,
stop?
but you're answering it better than I thought you would. Yes,
Yeah,
that's exactly
and
what I was
so
trying to get at. Is like, what was that sudden freedom like? Because it had to be
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
uh,
and I think like it was one of those things that you learn a lot about yourself in college. And like I think living by myself across the country was the first step. And then after that, I'm like, so what else can I do? And so I kind of danced into that world. And so like it started really fast and I had no idea what I was doing, which was like fine, you learn stuff, whatever. But I think it can also be, just like anyone else going to college, that it's like there is that freedom. So I think like for me, it was good and bad because it was like, well, I have to concentrate on like doing college stuff, like going to class, like like is
right?
this really what I want to do?
Yeah.
And I think for me too, like I also have a personality that I'm like so focused on, doing school and working on my career. And like those are really big goals for me. And so I think like finding that balance. So like after that first, freshman year, oh my God, I have so much, like freedom and whatever, is that then you can kind of have a moment to be like, okay, what do I actually want to do though here? And like set, like personal
Yes.
goals. And, so for me,
Yeah,
that was
because
really
that's what
focusing on
happened. That's what
school.
happened to me when I got out of school. It was like all fun the first year. I was like having fun, and then you're like, wait, a year and a half later, you're like, oh,
Mhm.
what do I really want to
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that happens whether you go to college or not. Like you leave school and you're like, I don't have to go to school anymore. There's no more class. Or I
Mhm.
can choose to
Yeah.
go to work and then come home and do. I mean, I remember getting a summer job and then being like, I worked 4 hours and then came home and it was like I could do what I wanted. And I was like, this is weird. And so you have to like adjust that whole thing. But I think what
Yeah.
Aaron, the case you just made is kind of what Carly keeps bringing up is like you want to encourage people to do things in
Mhm.
a controlled environment. And so finding ways to support things like dating and relationships in a way that is uh sets boundaries so you can learn these things so that when you do get a taste of freedom, you're not running and then making mistakes that could have consequences, right? Or you're running into a lot of heartbreak all the time. But I mean, it's all learning, right? It's all part of like learning and failure. But then there's like, if you can think about it as in you're giving somebody experience to give them toolbox to be a better adult, they have to try to experience some level of this, whether it's building
Yeah,
friendships or in dating.
yeah,
So yeah, well,
yeah.
so thank you. So thank you all for your time on today's episode. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you out there, whether you love it or hate it. Right. And we'll see you soon for another episode. We have to decide on what our next topics will be, though. So we'll be in touch soon. And thank the three of you for all your time.